Hello everybody, Brian Zane here, and it's time for my review of WWE's Survivor Series War Games 2024 Canadian Edition. This show came to us from the Rogers Centre in Vancouver, British Columbia over the weekend. By the way, the last WWE pay-per-view that ran that building was Rock Bottom in Your House from 1998, which I will be covering later this month for a classic review, so stay tuned for that. By the way, I hope everyone had a nice and lovely Thanksgiving holiday. I myself had a pretty good time. I didn't eat too much of the main meal, that is. It was the pre- and post-meal snacks that I might have had a little too much of, but that is neither here nor there. I am full, and I am full of WWE content after watching the Survivor Series PLE. And let's begin. Well, first of all, we got those pre-show walk-ins you see happening at the top of every pay-per-view. I tell you, it must have been pretty bright in Vancouver that day because everybody was walking in with the biggest sunglasses you've ever seen. We go to our first matchup. It's the Women's War Games showing of the evening. It's Team Rhea Ripley versus Team Liv Morgan. Naomi is on Rhea Ripley's team, and it was her birthday on Saturday. She was wearing the party hat as she was doing her entrance, and she kept it on until she got in the ring. Ooh, how long could she hold on to that hat? Also, my God, Rhea Ripley's look as she made her way to the entrance was incredible. The protective face mask to cover her broken orbital bone in the shape of like some crazy ram, and there's the makeup underneath. That was just a great look for Rhea there. I do appreciate the color coordination for the heel team here. Tiffany Stratton coming out without her briefcase, which to me feels like a tell. Bayley, who by the way is replacing Jade Cargill in this matchup as Jade was written off TV for an injury, is starting off in this thing along with Nia Jax, the champion who actually beat Bayley to become the champion. Very interesting pair of starters for a match such as this, I thought, but Nia definitely holding her own here in the early going. Bayley drops Nia onto the middle rope, I think, at one point. Naomi is the first one to enter the match after 5 minutes, and folks, I have some sad news to report. The party hat does not make it very long in this thing. I was hoping to see how long she could wear it as the match was going on, but that one swing of the kendo stick and that just pops right off. It was tragic, folks. I was sad. A toilet seat is brought into this thing, and we get a spot where Naomi does the stink face onto Nia, who has the seat around her neck. Candice LeRae comes out next, cutting off Tiffy time, which doesn't seem to go anywhere in this matchup. And I will say, whenever I see Candice now, all I can think about is Indy Hartwell, and it's like, oh man, she was such an entertaining character. It's a shame they let her go a little while ago. Nia handling a steel chair at one point like she's never seen a steel chair, let alone held one in her hands before. But you know what? She pushes through and tries anyway, and for that, I am inspired. There is a funny moment where she's about to like hit Naomi like over the head with it like this, and Naomi flinches, and then Nia just hits her on the side. That was pretty funny. They build this chair structure, and they put Bayley on it. Candice doing a moonsault onto her. Bianca Belair enters next, and she brings out a table. T-Strat finally comes in with her Cracker Barrel inspired outfit next for the team, and she brings out the trash can. Can I just mention, I am so tired of this format for WWE style War Games matches where it's like the person comes in and I got a weapon, like, ooh, the weapons like collection, the cash is just all here under the door for the ring. And I don't know. I mean, I know we're not going to get blood in War Games. I've talked about this in previous Survivor Series reviews, that this is the trade-off. You don't get blood in War Games. No, not even in the Paul Levesque era, apparently. But you are going to get a bunch of weapon spots, and you know that's the trade-off I guess we have to accept with this. But you know, I complained in my Full Gear review how I'm getting tired of like that style of, you know, finisher kick out, all these near falls. Hey, that's a tired format, and so is this War Games. Speaking of which, Leo Sky comes out next, and she grabs the trusty trash can. This has become the Kofi avoiding elimination in the Rumble spot of War Games. Io goes for a crazy sunset flip like off the side of the cage. She doesn't quite get it. She can't hold on. She makes her way down. She just turns around and like punches Tiffany in the ass. Like, yes, that is a fine recovery. Then Sky gets whomped by a running Nia Jax. Raquel Rodriguez comes out next to no reaction. She also brings out a table but leaves it outside. Rodriguez and Nia with a crazy looking super collider spot on Naomi and Io. Powerbombed on to Bayley and Bianca, and the collision between Bayley and Naomi looks really rough. Rhea Ripley comes out last for her team, and she grabs the table Raquel got earlier here, and Raquel's like, how dare you grab the table I didn't do anything with, and she gets knocked out. Rhea breaks the toilet seat lid over Raquel's back. All the weapons go flying at this point. Bayley is using one of Bianca's braids to attack Raquel. I love it, Maggle. Rhea is the last one standing after using her mask when Liv Morgan's number is finally called, and she looks terrified that she has to, face the music with Rhea there standing tall in the ring. So she goes to the back. You think she's just going to leave? No, she comes back with the ball bat, and so once she comes into the ring, the match officially begins. Rhea removes the mask, looking real tough here, but she gets jumped by the numbers, and then Liv beats the crap out of Rhea with the baseball bat. And at that point, I'm like, you should cover her because you just beat her to death with the baseball bat. Sting never hit anybody with the bat as much as Liv Morgan did here, and it looked really painful. It's like, that would be a good time to just end it there, but nope, we go another 10 minutes. We get this crazy double dive spot on opposite ends of the ring as Stratton's doing a swanton onto one group of gals. Io does the Oscar the Grouch off the top with the trash can, and the cameras do this really weird cut where they go from the one shot of Io to the wide shot, but they do it like they don't coordinate it well enough, so you kind of get disoriented when you see the cut, and that sucked. It is not the last time that happens in this particular matchup, but yeah, camera spotting and directing is a bit of an issue in this opening match. Tiffany reaches into the trash can and brings out the briefcase. Oh shit, what happens if it's a cash-in, folks? But no time to think about that as Io blasts everyone with a fire extinguisher, so there's no cash-in. Raquel gets handcuffed at this point in the match. Bianca and Candice do something in the corner. Once again, the camera is not in the right position for it. Nia whipping Bianca with her own braid, putting her on the table, but she takes too much time taunting. She gets powerbombed through that table. There's a cover, but Liv Morgan hits Naomi with the bat. Raquel is still handcuffed to the ropes, but she is pretty effective in stopping Rhea for a little bit until Ripley creates some space. She gets Liv Morgan up on the top rope, hits the champ with the riptide through a table to win the match for her team, as Raquel can only look from an arm's reach sort of thing. I don't think this was the strongest women's War Games match. There were definitely some fun points once we got into the match beyond. I think both the War Games matches from this show suffer from everything before that match beyond period when everyone's filing in to be pretty inconsequential. Nothing interesting really happens during that time, but at least once the match officially begins, then they can actually do some stuff. But I think this match, there was definitely had some good moments, some interesting stories are weaving through there, and small bit of revenge for Ripley after all of the beatdowns she has incurred from the Judgment Day over the last couple of months. So yeah, that does a pretty good job telling that story. Up next, Anomaly versus Attitude. It's Shinsuke Nakamura coming back to pay-per-view to take on LA Knight for Knight's United States Championship. Shinsuke came back for the first time in months with a new look. He sprays mist now. He has some kind of samurai look to him. He's got face paint on and everything. It's a darker, edgier Shinsuke Nakamura, and LA Knight is right in his crosshairs upon his return. I felt so bad for LA Knight here because just before his entrance, they put up that little graphic bug oh, here's a decibel reader. It's about to get super loud when LA Knight's music plays, and then they play the music. There's a little pop, and then it's just gone. It never breaks 90, 95. I'm oh, I felt so bad. And they never bring that graphic up again. They're not going to get burned again on this show. Shinsuke gains the advantage after the first couple of minutes. He takes over with a whole bunch of nice looking strikes here. LA comes back after hitting the closest thing you'll see to a burning hammer in WWE. Every time Knight tries to regain control, Shinsuke kicks his way back into offense. We get this crazy back suplex off the top where Knight basically does an assisted moonsault onto nothing. He begins to make his comeback, and I never noticed this before, but when he gets ready for the BFT, he's doing this weird clap thing. He's like, what is this? What is this he's doing with the fingers? There's some more fighting. Then Shinsuke hits a big suplex on the metal bridge between the rings, follows up with a Kinshasa to win and become the new US champion. I give it 2.5 stars out of 5. I thought the match itself was just there, but I think the finish was particularly shocking, just the way, the decisive nature in which Shinsuke won this thing and became the champion. I went into this show thinking, well, this is what they do with Shinsuke. They bring him back, they make him look like a badass for a few weeks, and then he just falls to the star. That's what we saw the last time we saw him on TV with Cody Rhodes, and before that was Seth Rollins and whatnot. So I was not the most, like, I was not betting on Shinsuke in this one. So, but for Shinsuke Nakamura to win the match and have the belt, I thought that was pretty neat, pretty shocking. Historically, when Shinsuke has a championship, he almost never defends it. So we'll see what happens if his ratio is better than Logan Paul's, let's just say. And by the way, they go to the trouble of having the customized belt for LA Knight, and he already drops it. So like, what does that mean? Is he going to chase for the belt again after he already chased it the first time going into SummerSlam? I'm wondering what the case is with LA here. Are they, is the bloom off the rose for Los Angeles Knight at this point already? Who knows? But I guess we'll see, how the next few months look for this guy. For the Intercontinental Championship, Bron Breuker defending against Sheamus and a newly added Ludwig Kaiser. Can Sheamus finally win the championship that's eluded him for so many years in WWE? And hey, can Kaiser possibly get his first bit of championship gold, his singles championship gold in WWE? We see a shot of the referee in the match with the referee cam, which I'm 90% sure they never use once during this matchup. They keep showing us the technology that it's there, but they seem to not have good opportunities to actually use them, and what I noticed at least. Bron Breuker is so fun to watch in this matchup. You watch this and you go, yep, he's definitely a Steiner. Just the way he throws himself into everything, literally. There's a point in the outside where Breuker just launches himself into the air, out of camera shot onto Kaiser. There's a great moment here where, there's a cover and a kick out. He goes into the push-ups. Then the camera operator thinks there's someone he's looking at, so maybe the camera was just shy after seeing that display of strength. I can't look anymore. So he just kind of pans off to the right. Breuker launching himself again onto the other guys onto the announce table. Sheamus at one point is thrown over the barricade, but pops back up and hits the beats of the Bowdron onto both guys, diving onto them both as well. Kaiser grabbing Sheamus's shillelagh. Sheamus just grabs it from him and hits him with it. Bron wants to hit the spear. He runs right into the chair in the corner. Sheamus has it won with the bro kick, but Kaiser yoinks the ref out of the ring. What a dick. Kaiser beats the shit out of Sheamus with the shillelagh. Sheamus knees him in the head. He's got the cover, but Kaiser still kicks out. Ludwig hitting his complicated-looking DDT on Sheamus, walks right into the mother of all spears by Bron. Breuker follows up by spearing Sheamus, but he covers to win and retain the title. I give it 4 stars out of 5. This was a fantastic matchup here, and I think the crowd was probably the loudest for this match than they had been, even more so than the Women's War Games match up to this point in the night. It was a lot of fun. Definitely Bron Breuker is a human highlight reel. I can't wait to see where he goes in the next couple of years in WWE. And, I was thinking maybe this would be the time Sheamus gets that IC belt. Maybe it won't happen here. Maybe we'll finally get that moment at Mania or something. But I would not be surprised if he does get that kind of like happy moment and gets to complete the set and everything. But it just wasn't happening on this night. In your semi-main event for the World Heavyweight Championship, Gunther defends against Damian Priest. It is a SummerSlam rematch, but the dynamic has definitely changed. Gunther is the champion now, and he's been rolling. He's been very confident going into this show, but Damian has been showing a lot of fire as well. He's been able to match the energy that Gunther has had, or even surpassing it, and I think it's that attitude that has, you see kind of the doubt start to slip in with Gunther here. They're making a point of that on commentary. You can see some of that confidence, that smugness is lost a bit on Gunther in the early goings of this match and in the entrances and whatnot. The match definitely starts out with a feeling out process, some big collisions to start things off. Damian looks to hurt his shoulder after a particularly hard hit. The shoulder begins to become a weakness, and of course Gunther starts to go after it viciously. He's working on it for a very long time, and it looks really aggressive. Priest kicks Gunther at the same time. Gunther chops Priest, and they both go down. That was a pretty fun double down. Priest laying into Gunther with a bunch of chops, begins to fire back, but his shoulder is still messed up. Damian hits a big top rope Hurricane Rana and the Razor's Edge, but he can't cover in time, and Gunther kicks out. Gunther with the Kimura lock. Priest fights out of it. He gets the ropes. We get this superplex spot where everyone kind of falls down. It looks almost like a mistake, and the way Damian sells it, is selling, honestly, has been very good in this match, because he made me bite twice on this matchup. First, the shoulder. Ooh, I hurt my shoulder a little bit, and then a minute later, you see, oh, okay, that's what they're working on. But then, the way he was selling this one after his tumble to the outside, he's like, oh, give me a minute. He made it sound, oh, something might have happened. But this is all setting up for Finn Balor coming in, hitting a big old stomp off the steps. Gunther disposes of him pretty quick, though, and hits the powerbomb on Priest, locks in the sleeper. Priest is out and Gunther retains. I'll give it 3.5 stars out of 5. I liked this match. I think it was very physical. I think that their match at SummerSlam was just a little bit better though. Good storytelling that they had throughout the match with like Gunther and his confidence being shaken at first, and the way Damian progressively sold that shoulder, becoming this huge liability. I thought that was also very well done. In our main event, it's the men's War Games matchup. Here you've got the new Bloodline plus Bronson Reed taking on the OG Bloodline plus CM Punk. I will say I credit WWE for not doing like the easy, predictable thing and having Seth Rollins joining the OG Bloodline group. And they certainly teased that a lot, but I like that Seth stuck to his guns and says, no, I'm never teaming with this guy again. And I think that they should really hold true to that. Seth, under no circumstances, should ever team with Roman Reigns again unless Dean Ambrose comes back to WWE. I know that Jon Moxley is tied up with AEW for a while, but there's still so much money in a Shield reunion, and I would not be surprised if Moxley at some point goes back, even for a fleeting bit, to WWE. And also, I wouldn't be surprised if Roman and Seth were also still there by that point. And you could definitely have like a bonkers Shield reunion, and I think that would be tons of fun to see. So I think until then, though, Seth should stay good in his word and like never be in Roman's orbit again for a while. So instead they went with CM Punk, who we hadn't seen since after Bad Blood. He took some time off, and this is a good move here. I like the fact they bring in the mutual connection that both he and Roman Reigns have to Paul Heyman. We get a little bit of cinema on the Go Home SmackDown with Roman and Punk and Heyman, where Punk is making it very clear he's doing this as a favor to Paul Heyman and not doing it because he's feeling out of the goodness of his heart for Roman Reigns. And that does set up a lot of very interesting stories that we are going to see in this matchup here. Jey Uso and Tama Tonga are the starters for their respective teams. After the first 5 minutes, Bronson Reed is the first one out for the new Bloodline, and he shows his scary strength early. They're double teaming Jey. Then Jimmy Uso comes out next, and for once doesn't pull out a weapon right away and goes right to fighting. We see the Usos working together, shades of the olden days. One of my favorite parts in this matchup, nothing to do with the wrestling. You just hear this one guy in the crowd yelling, "Tonga Loa sucks!" And this other guy a beat later going, "I second that." Then Tonga Loa is about to enter the match, but Solo Sikoa stops him and sends Jacob Fatu out. Yas, Samoan Werewolf, let's go! Jacob is going nuts on fools. Interesting triple team move where they just swing Jey Uso up and over onto his back. CM Punk is about to step out next, but Roman stops him and sends Sami Zayn out instead. Ooh, tension. Sami is the difference maker here. We see the Sami-Jimmy handshake. That gets a big pop. Tonga Loa comes in next for new Bloodline cinema. He gets out a table, then another one. More fighting, then up next, Roman Reigns is about to leave the cage, but CM Punk shoves him aside. Ooh, cinema face. Look at those facial twitches he has. He's so cinematic. Punk smashing a bunch of dudes with the toolbox. Fatu no-sells it and slams Punk. That looked badass. Solo Sikoa is the final man to enter for the new Bloodline. They are brutalizing the OG members. Big man splashes. Punk is about to walk into a 5-on-1 mauling, according to Michael Cole. Solo locks the War Games door as Roman Reigns is the final man to enter. Roman climbs the cage from the outside and makes his way in the hard way, diving on to everybody. Roman helping up all of his Bloodline buddies. Not you, Punk. Then we see Paul Heyman show up and try to play peacemaker, and he screams, "This is War Games." We get the face-off moment, which, again, much like the pulling out weapons thing when someone comes into the rings, I'm getting kind of sick of. We get the Usos splash onto Tonga and Tonga, Solo going for the big spike, but Roman ducks it and accidentally spears Punk. Oh, we haven't seen that before. Solo with the spike, but it's not enough. Roman is laid out on the table, and then Bronson Reed doing probably one of the damnedest things I've ever seen a big man do in a WWE ring since Rikishi doing something very similar in 2000, where Bron goes to the very top of the cage, goes for a tsunami onto Roman through the table, but the last second, Punk pulls Roman out of harm's way, and we get a big tsunami through the table and nothing else. That looked ridiculous. Now Roman is ready to help the punker. Roman is spiked again, but Jay makes the save. We get the 1D on Fatu. Tonga, save your guy on the table. He's right there. No, he just gets laid out, which allows Jimmy to climb to the top of the cage and hit the big splash onto Fatu. Solo now surrounded by all the OG Bloodites as we hear a big "you fucked up" chant. He takes all of the finishers just back to back to back, finally ending with the spear by Roman for the OG Bloodliners to win. And we get this moment after the matchup where we see Punk shaking hands and hugging all the Bloodline members, and then we finally get that moment with he and Roman. And then Roman puts his hand out, Punk accepts it, they shake hands, they pose, they get the pyro and everything. Then we get more discussion about the favor that Punk was going to get from Heyman later on as the show fades to black. I give it 4 stars out of 5. This was a very enjoyable WWE-style War Games match. I've mentioned before about the tropes that has been baked in to the producing of these matches now. Like, you're going to get the people walking up and grabbing a weapon right away. You're going to get the dramatic face-off with 5-on-5 guys. And, like, you can literally have a War Games match with any combination of people. You can pick and choose, mix and match anything you want. Men, women, bloodline, no bloodline, doesn't fucking matter. You just have all these same beats in every War Games match that eventually these moments and these beats mean nothing. You know, when it's like, regardless of context or story or anything, it's all just, these are the cookie cutter moments we have in these matches. And you're starting to dilute and render meaningless the War Games match when you do this. And I know I've talked about no blood. Again, I was kind of surprised we didn't get it in this one. Even with CM Punk in this matchup, we didn't get any blood. And so I was kind of surprised by that. Once you got past the tropes, the action in the match, the action itself was pretty solid, and definitely a lot of great story beats. You see Punk building up the trust with Roman Reigns. Roman is finally having that kind of moment of humanity where he sees someone trying to help him out, an outsider trying to help him out, so he shows a little bit of that back. And, you know, if this is going where I think it's going, the storytelling into WrestleMania will be very compelling. And I'm very curious to see where that goes. But this is definitely a solid way to end the show. That said, my grade for the 2024 Survivor Series is a B-. This was a pretty good show. You know, the War Games matches were good, but not the best ones they've done, in my opinion. I think the mid-card, in particular, the Intercontinental title match and the World title match, do a lot of heavy lifting on this show. Those are some great matches. I do like the storytelling, the story beats that we saw throughout much of this show, especially the last 3 matches. That was all very well done. So yeah, we have a lot of interesting threads going into Saturday night's main event and the Royal Rumble in January, and I'm very excited to see where it goes here. You know, we're not getting a pay-per-view from WWE in December, so this being the final big show for WWE for the year, not including Saturday night's main event, I think this is a pretty good way to end the year. But what did you think of Survivor Series? Which War Games match or moment was your favorite? I want to hear about it in the comment section below. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, and hit that bell icon for all the notifications. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed the month of programming I have in store for Wrestling with Regret in December of 24. We are looking at the best and the worst of the year, and hopefully I will be as up to date with it as possible. And then, of course, the classic shows I'm reviewing this month, the first Nitro, and then Rock Bottom 98. So get ready for that, and of course, World's End coverage at the end of the month. So stay tuned for all that, but until then, I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.